Hello and a warm welcome back to this week's episode of the Face Yoga Expert podcast. And I want to share with you today 3 things that people say to me every single week that might actually surprise you. Now, before we get into that, and it's going to be quite a short episode and quite a personal episode this week, I want to tell you a little bit about my upcoming free masterclass. So this is on May 14th. It's via Zoom and it's perfect for you if you want to become a face yoga teacher. I am going to share with you how to teach face yoga, how to market face yoga, and how to do this in a way that's going to give you more freedom, more wellness, and more abundance in your life and your business too. I'm also going to share with you a very special bonus VIP call that you can get if you purchase the Face Yoga Teacher Training course anytime in May. So even if you want to purchase it before this free masterclass, you will still get the exact same bonus of that group coaching call with me. And I only do this once or twice a year, so it's absolutely worth hopping on. And I never do discounts on my teacher training course, so don't feel like that's what I'm going to be sharing with you at the masterclass, because I believe in the value of the price of our teacher training course. It's one of the best on the market, so it won't be a discount, but I will be giving you that bonus. So if you've ever been thinking, I may like to teach face yoga, or I may like to add face yoga to my current offerings. Maybe you're a yoga teacher, maybe you're a personal trainer, maybe you're a beauty therapist, maybe you're a coach, maybe you're in the well-being industry in some way, and you'd like to get a certification so you can teach other people the amazing face yoga techniques, then absolutely the best thing to do is to come along to this masterclass, get loads of free tips. I will share with you how you can really put yourself out there. You can market yourself in a way that feels soulful and aligned for you, how you can be the best face yoga teacher ever, some really lovely tips on being your unique self, and also how you can feel more freedom in terms of where you work, how you work, who you work with, how you can really boost your wellness. So taking time each day for self-care and looking after yourself, and also how you can get that unlimited abundance in your life. So whether that be financial, or whether that be joy or peace or happiness or all of these things, that's the way that I run my business, and that's the way that I want to share with you, and hopefully you'll be able to run your career and your business like that too. So grab your free slot. It's May 14th, and on May the 14th it's 90 minutes at 6 p.m. BST, British Summer Time, but sign up anyway if you can't make it live, because you can get the recording, and I will make sure I put the link at the top of the show notes for you, and you can just click through, come live, interact with me. I will be able to chat with you in the chat, and I will be sharing so many tips that is going to be really helpful for you, particularly if you'd love to be a face yoga teacher. So without further ado, let's get into this week's episode about the things that people say to me every single week. So the first one may surprise you, and the reason it may surprise you is because if you have only watched me on camera, you may not realise this about me, but I am quite tall. So I'm almost 6 foot, I'm 5'11 and a half to be exact. And all the time people will comment on my height. Now, definitely someone will say something once a week. It depends where I've been, how many times I've been out and about that week, how many people I've seen. So sometimes it can be multiple times a day. And actually, nearly 6 foot is not that tall in the great scheme of things, but I guess for a woman it is fairly tall. So people will say things to me, and 99% of the time it's really kind, or it's perhaps a passing comment which isn't meant to sound rude or mean, but sometimes it might. So I think the thing that people say the most to me is simply, "You're tall." So they'll come up to me, maybe they're a stranger in the street, maybe they know me a little bit, and they'll just simply say, "You're tall." Now, 43 years on, I still haven't come up with a response to this. Not really sure what to say. So most of the time I just say, "I am." Or I say thank you, because actually I'm not quite sure why they're saying this, because yes, I'm tall, yes, it's a fact, they're pointing it out almost like I haven't heard this before. So that's the thing people say a lot. The other thing I notice people say, which is quite funny to me, and this is often people that are acquaintances. So maybe I've met them a couple of the times, maybe I know them through my girls' school or something else, or maybe they only see me a couple of times a year or maybe every few years. They will often come up to me and say, "Have you grown? Or have I shrunk?" Now, again, I'm never quite sure what to say to this because, of course, I haven't grown. It's impossible to grow. I stopped growing when I was probably about 17 or 18. I've been this height since then, maybe even before then. Maybe I was even this height at 16. I can't remember exactly. But of course, I haven't grown. It's physically impossible to be growing at 43. And it's quite unlikely that they have shrunk because most people that are saying that are not elderly. They're not in the position where actually they are starting to shrink like you can when you're older. So again, it's often a funny thing to say, but I hear this so often. And actually my response to this is, no, I've always been tall, and I'm always very friendly with it because I realise, again, people are not saying it to be mean. And I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, actually, and she said that often people will point out something if they're feeling insecurity in themselves. So she said maybe if they're standing next to me and suddenly they become aware of their own height, and maybe if they're short and they feel insecure about being short, they're then saying that to me in order to maybe justify the way that they're feeling or thinking in some way. And it's quite interesting because often I will get people say things like, "Do you play basketball?" And this can sometimes be just random people in the street walk up to me and say, "Do you play basketball?" And I just simply look at them and say no. And actually, again, most of the time, I'm just really sort of blasé with it and really friendly. I remember once I was in the supermarket and a man was behind me and he said, "Do you play basketball?" And I just turned around and I said, "No, I don't play basketball." I think I was just a little bit exhausted by that point of people asking me the similar thing. And then he said, "But you must play netball." And I said, "No, I don't play netball." I mean, I didn't tell him that as a child I played netball all the way through my childhood and right until I was 21. Of course, I didn't want to get into that conversation. I was obviously having a bad day. This is probably about a year ago. And then he said, "Well, what sport do you play? Volleyball?" And I said, "No, I don't play volleyball." And I just said, "Can I ask why you're asking me if I play these sports?" He said, "You just look like you play basketball or volleyball or netball." And I just didn't really say anything because, of course, it's difficult to know where that comes from. And again, I'm sure it's coming from a friendly place. People will also say to me, if they know I've got a husband, or of course before my husband was my husband, he's my boyfriend, they would say, "Is your husband tall?" And yes, I mean, he's maybe 2 inches taller than me. So I say, yes, he's taller than me. But again, I wonder what people would say if I said to them, "No, he's actually a lot shorter than me," which isn't the truth. So of course I wouldn't say that, but I find it really interesting. And then of course I get lots of lovely compliments as well, which is great. So I was in a shop maybe a couple of days ago and a lady came up to me and said, "I would kill to have legs like yours. Your legs are amazing. Oh my goodness, if only I had legs like that, I'd be wearing this and that." So I get lots of lovely compliments as well. Now I want to tell you a little bit about my personal relationship with being tall, because I am very neutral about most of these comments that come to me, probably bar the man that was going on about the basketball and the volleyball and the netball. But generally, I just feel very neutral, or if someone is giving a really genuine compliment, then of course I'm very grateful and thankful. But one thing I have definitely realised and have come to terms with is that I can't change my height. I can't suddenly become short. I can't suddenly become petite. It is a physical impossibility for me to change my height. So I committed to myself many years ago, probably 20 years ago now, to actually really embrace and love my height. So I have done lots of inner work over the years, and actually I would say over the years, but probably this was more sort of 20 years ago. I think I did the work came to a place of real peace with it and now managed to maintain that. So I actually feel confident in who I am. I love walking into a room, and actually, if someone said to me, Danielle, you could wave a magic wand and you could suddenly become short, would you do that? I would actually say no, because I know that I have been given this body, I have been given this height in this lifetime for a reason. And yes, it does make me stand out. There's nowhere I can go where people won't notice me because I am that much taller than the average height of a woman. And I think here in the UK, the average height of a woman is 5'3". I remember looking at that actually a few weeks ago because we were in Holland, and in Holland, or the Netherlands, it is known as the tallest nation. And the average height of a woman there is 5'8". So quite a comparison to the average height of a woman in the UK. So I am aware, living in the UK, that I probably do stand out a little bit, and I know that people will look at me. Now, what I would have done when I was a teenager is felt really insecure about that. I would have felt like I almost wanted to hide away from that. I would have felt like, why are people looking at me, or why are people commenting on me? Because I think when you're a teenager, you want to fit in. You want to be the average. You want to be the same as all your friends. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to be noticed. Part of that era of teenagers and then going into your late teens and early 20s is about forming those bonds with people. And as human beings, we form those bonds with people by feeling that we're the same or feeling like we've got something in common. So I used to wish that I was shorter than I was. But when I got into my 20s and I started to remind myself that I can't change my height, I got at peace with it, and then evolved over the last years, and definitely for the last 15 to 20, I have loved being tall, and I continue to love being tall. Now, the only thing I don't like probably about being tall is I can't wear really high heel shoes. Now, I can, but that's the only time I feel like there's a lack of confidence there. If I've got really high heel shoes on, I feel like I tower many, many, many more inches above people, and then suddenly I feel like a little bit like I'm standing out too much. So I feel like we've all got that inner limit, but I wear a small heel. And actually, with all the journey that many of you know that I've been on with my foot and my foot surgery I had a year ago, I can't wear high heels anyway. But over the last sort of 25 years, I've always wore sort of a 2 or 3 inch heel, sometimes 3.5 inch heel, and I'm fine with that. I just wouldn't wear a 6 inch heel. But I think if that is the worst thing, then it's not too bad. And actually, I think we need to be grateful for whatever we've got. And also remember, the grass isn't greener. Because the amount of people, even when I was younger and I didn't like being tall as much, that would say to me, oh, I wish I was tall. I hate being short. I'd love to be your height. Then I realised that there's so many people who would like to be this height, but then also I know other women who are my height and even in their 40s, or maybe they're even a little bit shorter than me. I know some people that like 5'8" and 5'9", and they really don't like being tall at all. And actually they wish that they could be short and they don't want to stand out to other people. But I really just think whatever height we've been given, whatever body shape we've been given, whatever skin we've been given, whatever eye colour, hair colour, if we own it, if we embrace it, if we make peace with it, if we start to love it, then our life becomes so much happier and more fulfilled. We exude confidence to other people and other people enjoy our energy, and it just makes our whole existence so much more joyful, so much more peaceful, and so much happier all round. Okay, so let's jump into the second thing that people say to me on a weekly basis, and that is, all related to Botox or injectables for the forehead area. Now, I get a whole variety of things related to this, and for a few reasons. I am in the public eye, so to speak. I show up on camera every day. I run a business that's all to do with the face and the skin. I'm also in my 40s and I don't have any wrinkles on the forehead area. So all of these things are going to bring up the subject of Botox or injectables for the forehead area. Now, I hear lots and lots of things on a daily and a weekly basis about this. First of all, I get many people who simply don't believe I haven't had Botox. So I have never had Botox. I've never had any injectables at all in my face, let alone in the forehead area. But many people think I'm just simply lying about that. Now, I absolutely would not lie about anything. One of the biggest things that I feel in my heart and in my soul, and the way that I live my life, the way that I run my business, the way that I am with my friends and family, is I live by my truth. I always tell the truth and I will never ever lie. So I haven't lied about that, but trying to convince people that I haven't is often difficult. So I have to just let those people go. If they don't want to believe it, I need to just take it as a compliment and remember what my friend said, which is realise that actually it's an insecurity within them that is being then projected on me. The other thing that I've noticed recently, which is really interesting, and this has probably only been the last year or two, is when I am booked to work with collaborations with brands or perhaps go on certain events or certain podcasts or work with different skincare brands. One of the reasons they have been saying that they want to work with me and they want to book me is because I'm in my 40s in the wellness and beauty industry, but choose the natural route. And I find this so interesting because I used to get booked for these things simply because I was a face yoga expert, for the audience that I've built up, for the skills that I bring to it, for the teaching expertise, for my knowledge that I bring to it. And yes, I'm still booked for those things. But isn't it interesting that now these brands are often struggling to find someone who is used to being in the public eye, used to presenting in the beauty and wellness industry, that hasn't had Botox or fillers or injectables or surgery. And I find it intriguing that it almost is like it's a radical act to not have Botox. And when I think to myself of many people I know, whether it be friends, whether it be colleagues, whether it be peers in the industry, whether it be people I follow, I think I struggle to think of many people who show up on camera every day, even if they're just showing up on Instagram every day, that haven't had injectables, Botox or fillers or something like that. Now, let me tell you, most of them are not saying anything. So they're keeping this very quiet. And sadly, I think there's a little bit of shame behind that. And I know people that wouldn't have even told their family that they have had injectables and Botox and fillers, let alone let their audience know, their customer base know, their followers know, people they collaborate with. And I think this is a real shame, actually, for a few reasons. I think it's a shame because people feel as though they have to hold it back and they're doing something wrong. And that means there's still a judgment out there. And I really believe that every woman should have the choice to do whatever they like for their face. If it makes them feel more confident, if it makes them feel happier, if it makes them look healthier and more energized by doing this. And of course, if they understand any risks that are involved with it and they go to a qualified medical practitioner, then I say that they should go for it and actually own it, because I think the more women that own it, the more comfortable other women who have had it will be saying it. And also, it won't feel like it's such a taboo subject. But I think equally, it puts everybody then on a level playing field. I know many women who haven't had Botox or fillers, and they feel as though they look really old or wrinkly for their age. And actually, they don't. They look fantastic for their age, they look completely as they should for the age that they are, but they're often comparing themselves to people online who have had injectables, who have had surgery of some kind, and they think that they should look like that, but they don't actually realise that they have had injectables. So I'm very grateful that brands are booking me for this reason, but I definitely feel that it'd be wonderful if we could just let go of the shame that there still is behind having injectables. And as part of that, I am just simply asked on a daily basis, do you have Botox? Do you have fillers? So this is just part of that day-to-day conversation. And definitely, I of course say no, but I know that people are intrigued to know this question. So let's get on to the third thing that I am asked every week. And that is, what exercise do I do, or how do I stay in shape? I could say I walk every day, I do minimum 10,000 steps, I do some yoga or some strength training every day, I'm very active, my children are a very active family, so we do lots of different sports and activities together. So I could just generally say that, and quite often I do. But actually, the deeper answer is I live by my intuition. I stay in shape because I honour my body, I love my body, and I found a way to listen to what my body needs. I know that my body never needs any high intensity interval training. I know my body doesn't want to go and do a cold plunge. I know my body doesn't want to run a half marathon or a marathon. I do know my body needs every day to do walking. I find that if I don't do that, I don't sleep well. If I don't do that, I don't feel well through my day. It affects my mental health, it affects my fitness. I know that my body needs stretching every day. And I also know my body really thrives from gentle strength training, whether that's more sort of Pilates based exercises or whether that's in the gym with small free weights. I tune into that. And the same goes for eating. I know there's certain things which don't suit my body at all. I can't eat gluten, and I know that caffeine and alcohol don't suit my body. I know that I have to go fairly low sugar and I can have dairy, but only certain things suit me when it comes to dairy. I know that my body thrives with lots of fruit and vegetables. I know that smoothies are great for me, and I know my body needs lots of protein as well. I know that I have to eat meat because I'm very prone to low iron levels, and lots of you will know my journey with iron. I've had to have 4 iron infusions over the last sort of 7-8 years, and I have to eat meat despite the fact that environmentally and ethically I don't really want to. I know that that is what my body needs, and that's what nourishes my individual body. Now, I also am very in tune with when I need to eat and when I'm full. So it's very difficult to answer the question of people asking me how do I stay in shape or what exercise do I do, because there isn't a sort of blueprint, there isn't a sort of eating plan or an exercise plan that is exact that I could give to people. Now, may I add that even if I did have a very exact routine, I wouldn't share this. Now, the reason I wouldn't share this is because I believe that everyone's body is different. Now, what suits me is not going to suit another person, even if we've got similar body shapes, similar heights, if we are similar ages, similar health levels, because actually everything is different every day for each one of us. And I think it can often be quite dangerous where someone online who makes content is giving an exact eating plan and an exact exercise plan without really understanding the individual needs. But the thing I can teach is to tune into your intuition. You have all the inner knowing within you. You can take inspiration from what I share, and sometimes I do share some yoga exercises or some foods I've been eating. Take inspiration from that, but you don't need to follow it as an exact blueprint and exactly do what I do every day, because even if you did, no doubt results would be different for you. You may get way better results, you may get not as good results. It really is very unique to you. And I think really this goes through all of what I said today and all of these 3 points, talking about the height, talking about the Botox, and talking about the exercise. The message I want to share today is be yourself. Own who you are. Love who you are, Don't be afraid to speak your truth in a calm and peaceful way, and follow your intuition with everything. And before I sign off today, just one more reminder of my free masterclass. So if your intuition is telling you would like to learn how to teach face yoga techniques to other people, get an accredited certification, then sign up for my masterclass May 14th, 6 p.m. via Zoom. It's going to be amazing and I can't wait to see you there. And if you are watching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click like, let me know in the comments if you like these podcasts being on YouTube. And if you're listening on any podcast platform, particularly if you're on Apple, please do just click the 5 stars, write a quick review. It makes such a difference. I read all of them and it allows other people to see the podcast, because the better the reviews and the more comments and likes there are, the more the algorithm shares this to other people, and the more that I can share this message of helping everyone to look and feel the best version of themselves. Sending you lots of love. See you next week.